It's no secret that the string of terrorist attacks by Islamic extremists around the globe has led to a rise in Islamophobia. There are often reports of Australian Muslims being attacked physically, verbally, or online. Now, a Melbourne community is trying to build better understanding by sharing history, art, and culture at the Islamic Museum of Australia. Karen Percy reports.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
It's a day away from school for the students of Elim College. They're part of the Student Leadership Program, and today they're exploring their roots at the Islamic Museum of Australia.
So your visit here today is not just a normal excursion, all right? I want you guys to think of this as a life-changing experience, because it's really important, because you are the future generation.
They might be in their teens, but these young people are carrying a burden beyond their years.
I feel a responsibility to be the best person that I can be in order to portray like I am not a dangerous person and therefore my people are not dangerous people.
Well, these days in media, Islam is portrayed very poorly. It's like, well, every Muslim is a terrorist.
As females, we feel a lot more of the pressure because we are clearly identified, and that does have some strain on our own security some of the time.
And he was determined to create something that would bring together Australians from a Middle Eastern background and Australians from an Anglo-Saxon background. So these gorgeous...
The museum aims to bridge the gap between Muslims and non-Muslims at a time of increased tension and mistrust.
There was September 11, then there was the build-up of the Bali bombings, and there were all these claims of people doing things in the name of Islam, which is totally factually incorrect. That build-up is what drove me to say we need to do something about it as Muslims, as Australian Muslims. So this is my favourite photograph of the Cameleers and how they used to connect the rest of Australia with goods.
The man behind this $12 million facility is Mustafa Fahour, an Australian businessman whose family hails from Lebanon. The museum has been a family affair, made possible by a hefty donation from his brother, Ahmed Fahour, the CEO of Australia Post.
Hopefully the Islamic Museum of Australia is one important part of that infrastructure to provide a window to the general public of Australia of what Islam is and the contributions they've made to Australia, since the early times of the 1700s and some say earlier.
وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. In the name of God, the supremely merciful, the most kind.
Of the diverse voices heard in this museum, one will be very familiar to music lovers. Yusuf Islam, formerly known as Cat Stevens, provides the narration for this part of the museum, which explains the basic pillars of Islam. It's part of the museum's collaboration with leading foundations, galleries and cultural centres around the world. Since February 2014, more than 20,000 people have visited here. Well over half have been non-Muslims, but it's proven to be an important institution for the faithful as well.
It's really important that we reclaim that word jihad. Jihad does not mean holy war. Jihad means struggle or striving. So who is he fighting? He's fighting himself.
The museum is also trying to provoke renewed interest in the arts.
This is Fatima Colleen's work, and this is depicting the looting of the Baghdad Museum in 2003. So it's a crime scene.
I wanted to tell the world that Iraq has not been targeted only for its oil resource. It's been also the National Museum of Baghdad has been targeted. I do it this way to speed the process of drawing.
Fatima Colleen is a Moroccan-born artist living in Canberra who isn't afraid to put politics into her work.
I think it's very important for us to tell our story in that way and be able to communicate a level of hurt and devastation and division. And I think what's happening now in the world because of war, the Islamic and the Arab world especially has been divided.
In a short time, the Islamic Museum of Australia has carved out a place in multicultural Victoria. In March, Malcolm Turnbull became the first Prime Minister to visit.
And for that we are very, very grateful.
A museum like this is very important. All of us are enriched by the cultures of each other. And for more than 150 years, Muslims have formed an integral part of our nation, Australia.
Not all Australian politicians are as accepting.
They really have to commit themselves fully to the understanding and tolerance about various communities, not only Muslim communities. And I think politicians have the power to change, to make change positively.
I never look to that as a issue. Rather, I see the role that the museum has to play in educating the wider society, in letting the Australian public come in for themselves and seeing what Islam truly is by Muslims, by Australian Muslims.
The museum aims to overcome negative stereotypes by highlighting the positives.
I think this is a great platform for people to come and really just kind of get to know the huge role of Islam in building today's societies.
It really just challenges the ideologies that the media presents to us.
It's a reaffirming experience for Muslims, especially the young.
I think it's really good for the youth to be engaged, and it gives them a clear sense of direction as well. When they see positive, role models who have done so much for their communities, it just makes them think, I'm no different from them, I could do exactly the same thing.
Australia is built upon migration and the multiculturalism, and we're probably one of the most successful stories around the world. And if I can help in continuing that legacy, then I'll be one happy man.
Karen Percy in Melbourne.